So we are going to start right on page number 5, I think. We're not going to go through all of the other stuff, although it's kind of interesting because it kind of tells you how things are coded and how the upload looks. So the file layout in page 3 through 4 tells you what the file layout is in most. And remember, the file layout also tells you right before you're submitting it. It tells you right there if you've downloaded a text file and you need a CSV file that you got to go back and redo it. But it does tell you what exactly it's looking for, so that's kind of nice. And I did learn some stuff in this, so I'll try to get through all of that. So reminders for importing. The district and testing year must be in context when you're importing any type of testing data. Now, what we have to remember is test date is important, not the date that you're importing it, but the test date itself. So on number 3 of reminders for importing, you need to make sure that you have those dates of when the student was tested, because if you're uploading it in October and you're doing KRA in, well, let's just say you're uploading it in November, that's past the deadline. So it's going to say, oh, you tested that student November 15th. All those kids are going to air out because they do not have the right test date. So just as a reminder, number 4, super important, reading diagnostic and tier 1 dyslexia screener. You have to know the product name, because how you import that, and I will tell you, DO has some great resources based on the product you use on how you import that in, on what you use, whether it's a score, what it's supposed to be, a yes or no. It tells you all that. The other thing to remember is that those 2 import templates are in the analytics hub. That's where they are. The thing to do is to make sure who's ever in charge of doing those knows where to find those templates. That's the best part of that, if you have someone willing to do that. Last year, someone sent me those in a spreadsheet, and I tried to cut and paste and throw everything on the template, and it messed up a few kids, and then we had to go back in and redo the whole thing basically by hand. So very nice if they will do that for you. They can send it to you. You can do the upload, or your testing coordinator can do the upload. I don't know how many people have a testing coordinator that does their uploads, but it's great if you do, because then you can tell them what the problems are. It tells you need to know what file. It's going to also tell you to browse for the file. Browse for it, of course. You're going to upload it. It's going to give you view import management. It's going to tell you what it looks like. Is there some that aren't going through? Did it accept 0? Which means what happened? So these are just some reminders for importing. That's all this is just reminders for importing. But it takes you into your assessment import management. And I'm just going to go there for a second because it's fun to be there, I guess. So when you're going to go to SIS, which sometimes messes people up. Student information, SIS. When you go to SIS, you're looking for assessment, and then you're looking for assessment imports. Okay, so what are you uploading? There it is. Everything's right there. All of them. So when you pick one, it's going to tell you this one has to be in a text format. It tells you right there. Assessment date. Remember, not the date you're uploading, the assessment date. It'll go through that OST, state testing, since we all have to do that. Text format. So it tells you before you upload that file. So if you upload the CSV file, you know it's not going to come through. Oh yeah, we had questions on that. Now I am going to ask the group, because on page 6, there is an ODEX file import. Has anyone ever used the ODEX file import? Okay, anybody on Zoom ever used the ODEX file import? I thought this was interesting. So this is something I learned during training. And I thought, ooh, Now, I do go into ODEX when I'm missing a test score on a kid that came in or whatever. I go in and I find it and I put it in. I have never once tried this upload, but I thought if someone wanted to be really brave and they wanted to try this import, you guys got to call me. I mean, I might try to just do it, but I don't know if I should be messing with the district when I'm doing it. But I mean, I could go in and try to upload it and just see what it looks like in comparison to what, you know, the COS looks like when it's brought over to us. So I was just thinking about stuff like that. But anyway, I have not found anyone that has tried this yet. And I did ask a couple people. So I just wondered if there was anybody in here. But you can find test scores there if they came from somewhere else. And it's really nice to be able to do that. Now, you will note at the bottom, foreign exchange students participate in all state tests for their enrolled grade. So it's all based on what courses they're enrolled in, but they do participate in their state testing. All righty, page 7. Assessment reporting. This page basically tells you, what I like about this page is, do you ever feel like you don't remember like what they call things? You know, like, oh geez, crawl is go. I mean, GO. I mean, why isn't it KR? CLEP. What is that? I forget. I'll look that up. I forget what the.
It's college.
Oh, it's college. Oh,
Life experience.
yes. Yes. So life experience for college, which it is quite the life experience. Okay, so all the assessments are here. They're reported to ODE. So here's what's cool that I found out also. Your ACT, you have to watch for duplicates on that. So like sometimes if somebody forgets they uploaded and they upload it twice, it can pick up duplicates. The other thing, if they go out and they take certain tests, like I think it's the ACT or something, that you don't actually go out to look for those, the student should turn those results into the guidance office so that those can be uploaded. Because that is on your CC whatever thing. That is there. If there's SATs that kids are taking, a lot of kids don't take it, but you might have a handful that take it. And the guidance office should be on the lookout for those, just as an FYI. And you can see there is a place for that too. Okay, page 8. Kindergarten readiness, GO. It's just going to tell you what they're looking for as far as the download. The admission window for KRA is not earlier than the first day of July. And be sure to use the correct date when you're uploading these. Now, the crazy thing about some of these is that your testing coordinator hopefully knows where to get all these. So they would go out to the KRA system to get these uploads. They would get these uploads and hopefully they're either sending the upload to you or they're uploading it themselves. The cleanest thing to do is for them to get the import and to import it into the student information system. From there, they could send you a text, hey, I've done this. And then we're going to get to your step in all of this. But I don't know how many people do their own imports. So quite a few of you do your own imports. So when you're doing those imports, you know, you've got to know where to go. Do I got to go to KRA? Where do I go to get these imports? You know, your state testing site, you got to go there. You got to get your imports. Then you have to import it. So this is going to go through each of those imports, which we are not going to go through one by one. We might touch on it. Do you have the KRA? The import is in the KRA system. You're going to grab it there. You're going to upload it into student information. You will do the same thing you do with everything else. You will transfer your assessments into EMSR. You will upload, you will have all that information there. You will then find all your missing students or scores that didn't come over right. You will then correct those. Normally that's by calling or emailing a testing coordinator and saying, I'm missing these 5 KRA scores. Did these kids not get tested? Whatever it might be. Now you have on page 10, you have your preschool COS scores. Again, these are all preschool students with a disability are required to be assessed using the Childhood Outcome Summary, the COS. So if you didn't know what the COS was, you can always go back to our first page and say, oh, what is that? What's that code for the COS? Oh, it's GM. Just for the record, it's GM. So some of those codes don't make sense but when you're looking at them, usually you'll see preschool and you'll know what it is. It goes through the assessment area, just like it did with the KRA. And we won't go through all of that. And when we get to EMSR, we'll go through all the deadlines on all of these things. Yes. Oh, that would be a Shelley.
What did you say it was, the GM?
The GM record, yeah.
I don't think that's an option. I'll look, but I don't think it is.
It's cool that you have them in there though, because at least you can look them up, you know? And then I think some of us wait for the Tri-County to send us theirs. You know, we get a little anxious. No, it's a download.
Well, like my kids aren't that yes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, yours would be your responsibility.
I'm doing it. I just
No, and there shouldn't be a lot, but yeah, I would say that you would have to manually enter those. At least you have a resource like to same goal to go get them. So like, you know, the kids that attend ESC, you know, we wait until they send us the file to be uploaded. Now we can also look in ODEX too, because once they're in there, we could look there, but we've never tried that download, but there's an idea right there. So this just goes on to explain the COS and the fields. So when we get to OST, which is your next generation, which is your 3 through 8, it does the same thing. Okay, what's going on here? There's fall, there's spring, and there's summer, possibly. So this just kind of goes through each one and tells you, hey, you know, you gotta upload them to get. Oh, but one thing it did say on here, can you see the green? Summer results file must be updated with grade level in positions 35, 36 prior to importing. So last summer, that was a big help desk ticket is my import will not work because the grade level's wrong. So the grade level's wrong. So the grade level has to be fixed before the import takes place. So I thought that was an interesting thing to see because we couldn't figure it out for a while. We knew it was grade level. Now, you also have to remember that if you had a student that moved in or moved out after or before testing, you still have to put those records in. It doesn't matter what test it is. It can be any test, but all of your state testing have to have a record. If you don't have a record, you have to create a record that says they moved in, they moved out, whatever the case may be, has to be reported. And you have to remember, it's not just reported for one thing. It'd be reported for 3rd grade ELA, 3rd grade math, and the result. So remember that it's 3, like for, you know, state testing is a little different. You've got to do them all, which is what, or high school testing, and of course, which is what we're going to talk about next, which is on page 14. Oh, I moved on. And of course, again, that is called the GE record. So, you know, at the end of the year, when you're missing GE records, something to do with end of course. And if you can't remember, great resource in this manual, great resource. Okay, so it kind of goes into a few things. There's no separate alternate assessment for each end of course exam. If a student's eligible to participate in alternate assessment per alternate assessment for students with cognitive disabilities, participation guidelines, proficient score in each one in the content area, reading, math, science, social studies. So this is just additional information. Normally your testing coordinator has got all this figured out. They've coded the student, they've given the alternate assessment or the state testing with accommodation, whichever applies. It also in the middle here goes into substitute tests for American history or American government, advanced placement, IB, but I believe IB is gone now. Am I not right? Okay. It's gone now, and college level courses. So just to kind of keep those in mind. It does give a reminder, please refer to the student information graduation point EUG for additional information pertaining to how assessments are applied toward graduation. Again, that is a nice little blurb for a guidance office that's trying to track those things. Okay, on the next page, page 15, this is a handy dandy report that you might want to share with your guidance office. It tells you how to code when you do not have a test score for a student and why you don't have a test score to the student. A W, assessment score was not reported because they already received a graduation credit for the assessment area. And look at COVID-19 in there. So we should be about out of that error, I think. X goes into X, Y, 2 goes into everything that you're allowed to code and how you code it. It also goes on page 16, assessment area code and assessment area code description. I will tell you something, you don't want to learn this the hard way, is that all of your course codes are connected to an end of course test. So if you have algebra, and maybe it's beginning algebra in your district, and the high school has reported that with not an algebra test code to go with that, those kids will not pull over as a requirement to test in algebra. So course codes and testing should go hand in hand. So one year I was at a district and we coded all of our 8th grade. The course was called Algebra 1 Beginners or something. And they coded it as 8th grade math. Used a course code of 8th grade math. So they didn't take the 8th grade math test. They didn't take the Algebra 1 test because they were in Algebra 1, but they were required to take the 8th grade math test because that was their course code. So you always want to make sure. So we were missing 70 kids that were not tested in either area of math. Or they might have been tested in algebra, but they were supposed to be tested in 8th grade math. Doesn't matter. We were missing them because the course code was incorrect. We caught that before we were done submitting. And so I gave the high school the information, you need to change that course code to match the test they were supposed to take, but they didn't. So when the report card came out, and I said, why didn't you change this? I mean, now we have 70 some kids that weren't tested. She said, well, the principal didn't tell me to do it. So she just didn't do it because I told her to do it. I felt like they needed a match. But again, those are things that can be caught up front. And you can see the repercussion when you get your report card. You don't want to find it then. You don't want to find it then. Ooh, and then it even shows us our, whoops, sorry about that. On page 17, if we have to add a manual, this tells us how to do it. We have to add an assessment record. You add an assessment record in the area that they're missing the assessment. Moved in, moved out, already got a graduation credit. You know, they're in 12th grade. They already got their graduation credit for Algebra 1, for whatever, from another district. There you go. They might be missing them to graduate here, wherever you're at. So they need to have that put in. Page 18, alternate assessment, grades 3 through 8. This is always a fun place to find when someone's looking for it. It's under student achievement. If you're looking for those, just as an FYI, you upload those just like you upload your state testing. No difference there. Page 19 goes into just more detail and tells you you're required to take the test. Did they not take the test? Maybe. I mean, truthfully, maybe every time you set them down to take that test, they may have had a meltdown and they could not have been tested. You know, or is it a medical reason? that they weren't tested. You know, there's a lot of steps to that medical reason. You have to send that in through the Tide site and get that approved. But hopefully it gets approved. We're gonna move on to ACTs. Note, your districts have received the result in a new format. At the present time, that record will not import. So it is telling you right now, there's a problem with the import. Just an FYI, there's a problem right now. All prior ACTs will be included in the transfer data. That's just a reminder. ACT, American College Testing Assessment results are available from a download in the ACT file. So that's a whole different area. So you got your TIE, you got your KRA, you got your ACT. That's why we have testing coordinators, because there's so many things to remember. We used to have to go somewhere, we used to have to go to KRA for preschool, their ELA records. They don't do that anymore. So, yeah.
I actually just ran with these, and that update was made with the,
Oh, the 25.1 or whatever?
yeah, and actually it's not in here, but there are, and it was a help desk thing last year, but there's the state rank and the STEM rank where you have to make the little r a capital R or it won't upload.
Oh, okay, I'll make that a note.
But they were fixed.
But I can confirm that. It's
Me
okay, I
too,
did it,
because
but I did not.
I could write down when they were fixing it, so I did it and.
It didn't fix yet? Okay. So in case anyone didn't hear you, you still have to use the capital R and not the lowercase r to upload those. And Lori also said that this was corrected. So that note that we have here, that was corrected in the 25.1.0 update. Okay. Thank you for that. If the same ACT record is imported multiple times, guess what? Duplicates will be created. And I've had to delete duplicates before. Just thought you guys should know that. Seems like funny. And if you have to manually put them in, it goes on to tell you how to manually put them in, the screen you're looking for, and how to manually update those. I've also had to do those when, you know, you're missing like 3 and you're like, oh, do I wait? No, I don't wait. Send me the results. I'll just do it. Again, you know, I tell you guys not to do that because then somebody will count on you doing it. But there are times that we're in a time crunch and we have to do certain things. And we're doing it for the district. But remember, we're not doing it for someone who's like just maybe slow on the draw. We're doing it for the districts. On page 23, it goes into your SATs. And again, this is something that not all the students take anymore, of course, kind of like the ACTs. Now they can opt out of that. But this goes clear through that you do want to report these. Like if they're taking them, you do want to report these. And we used, you know, it's funny because page 25 is still in here about the IB. And I don't know that is there any overlap in anything that would be going on this year that would have anything to do with IB?
It's been,
Yeah, so I would guess it
you only had
one, okay. Oh, okay. Yours?
Yeah.
It's gone, okay. So you can disregard page 25. And I'm not sure how many people still do AP, but it also goes through our AP on page 26. And again, it just tells you 1 through 5, if you're manually putting these in, or if you are doing an upload of the scores, which you can do an upload. But you can also see at the bottom of that page where you can manually put that in, AP exams, chemistry, whatever it may be. And if they are taking those AP classes and they're taking those AP tests, you want to put those in again. Anything that you can do for your district. I mean, normally it's your guidance office that's going to put those in. They're going to get the results, not you. But it might be a nice reminder at the end of the year to say, hey, if you've got these, put them in. Okay, we can go into OELPA. Some districts do not have OELPA, some districts do. But they are required to be submitted with any student that has a Y, an S, or an L option reported in their English language learner status. And that's on their student attributes, screen. So, so if I go here, I would go to their student attribute. This girl barely speaks it, and I'm just joking. It's my granddaughter. But you guys can see, if you go down through here, if you have English language learner, if you have anything other than that N, you have to give the OELPA test. So that's just a reminder. Page 28, just more data following abbreviations, just kind of gives you what to look for and what to know is an error if you get any of those. You also know that now you have the OELPA alternate, which is your, oops, I just skipped right over it. Sorry about that. Which is, it's required to be submitted with every student that has the Y, S, or L option in the English learner status element, but also has the OELPA test that they have to take. So that this is kind of a nice little thing for those kids, special ed, that needed that additional, that always had to take the regular OELPA. They are, you know, they already don't speak good English. They're taking the OELPA test, but now there's accommodations and things that are all set up for them. Page 31. CTE Industry Credentials, GW. So again, you find them on the one page, the abbreviations. You also find them as we're going through this, through these checklists. New, oh, this came out too. The new FY26 Industry Credentials will be loaded into the student information with the upcoming 25.1 release. They can also be reported in the actual year and month the credential was earned. Now, some districts give this industry credential. And I know I have some districts in here that don't. But this goes through step by step, each one. Now, Cheryl, can I ask, is this different than the web exam? We used to have 2 CTE testing that we used to do. One we thought industry credential, one was web exam. So you have 2 different ones. I just want to make sure I was clear. I don't want to tell you guys wrong. If you're offering CTE courses, do you give the credential testing? Some districts have opted just to go with the web exam, but some areas in your district may still be giving that industry credential. And if they do, you're not going to see that. And some don't know to upload that. The Career Center would know to upload things like that, but sometimes a district may miss that. And I can remember emailing the high schools and saying, hey, are you giving this? Are you still giving this? Because we need to upload those test scores. And I don't know how many in here still give it.
The industry credentials are manual entry. There's no way to upload.
Oh,
those.
okay. So we must have put those in, but they're not that many at a high school. I know that. Yeah. So if anybody's thinking about that, 1,000 and some compared to 20. Okay.
Better than me.
She blew it out of the water. Honestly, she blew it out of the water. So anyway, that would be something that you do want to check when you get back for anybody who's offering those CTE courses. Are they giving that industry credential and are you reporting it? On page 32, I had looked at this, but that might mean that I needed to look at this. Oh, this is the industry credential. This is where it goes in and then updates, if you had to do updates on that. So that's kind of a cool little thing. The LEA administering the industry credential, which could be the high school, is required to pay for the assessment. And I do think that's why some high schools have quit doing that, because they don't want to pay. And so I think that that's why they've just all went to the web exam, and that's where they're hanging out right now.
Maybe this was part of your look at this note to yourself. Make an ad hoc membership to then you can uncheck kids.
Oh, that's true. Yes, yes.
So
And that may be what I wanted to do, is kind of run an ad hoc on that, just see what that.
50 works, maybe 100. apparently, if you do anything larger, Frontline has a story, which is what they call some of their projects they're working on, about larger numbers problems. So if you have like 200, you're gonna run into problems.
Oh, that's good to know. So you're 1,000?
Well, ours take them on all different days. So
Oh,
There's very few I can ad hoc. The
yeah.
ones I can ad hoc, I think there's not that many.
Right. Oh, that's interesting.
So the dates are what kind of make it
Hard to
forced to do manual entry.
So any of you schools that offer a lot of CTE, you're definitely going to want to just check. Just check. Make sure you're not missing something. Moving on. This is any student who's a concentrator should have some type of CTE assessment reported. And it goes in through here, and you see this highlight. They're only valid for students who have not taken technical assessment since 2018. Should be very rare. Test date cannot be later than 6:30. So it is something that you can update, but I think, and I think as we go through this, if we go to the note, we get to what we all are so excited about, which is the web exam upload. Because that's fun. So that is a file that you get from your ITC site, and you can upload the first version of it. You can upload it, but you have to remember when you get the final version, it has to be uploaded with the exact same date as the first version. And we'll talk about that when that gets a little closer, but you have got to make sure, because we all get a little anxious about wanting to get those done. And we want to get those uploaded. So we want the ITC to send us those files, but then we still have to wait for that final file. And then we still have to look at all of our errors out there, which is going to be the last section of our training today. The other thing, course code and web exam, line them up, because if your teacher thinks they're teaching this and somebody's put in this course code and this course code is associated with a test that she didn't give, they're going to be missing the test that they should have been given. So that's always, again, have to remember, course codes line up with required testing. So that is a big issue. And again, probably something I learned the hard way is why I make such a big deal about it. And something we had to clean up because our CTE course codes were not lined up with the test that the teacher was teaching and giving. You know, if they're teaching one thing, you want them to be giving a test that's associated with what they're teaching, not a course code test. So you want to make sure it's all in line. That's all. All right. We won't linger there because bad stories come from there. STAR assessments. I don't know who all uses STAR, usually dropout recovery districts. I don't know if I have anybody in here that uses it. And 36 ACT WorkKeys. I think somebody was asking about that last year. You're going to notice that version 1 is no longer in existence. You can't take those anymore. You have to use version 2. And I've never known these to be anything but a manual update, unless somebody knows something different than I know. And a lot of times we would get these from someone, and I had someone say, well, I don't know how I'm supposed to upload those. But if you turn to page 37, it tells you how to load those manually. And it says WorkKeys. So there's no confusion about how to do it. You take the results that the student got and you would upload those. Again, sometimes students get results that they need to turn into the guidance office. You know, it's the same thing with ACT, WorkKeys. They used to be like IB. We used to get those were be turned in. So we're going to go on to everybody's favorite subject, which is on page 38, which is your reading diagnostic. And I did touch on this a little bit, that your template is in the analytics hub for reading diagnostic. And the best case scenario is to send that template or have your testing coordinator go in to download that template and use it. Don't look at me like that, Veronica. But they have to pick the correct product and test type. You have to, or they do, to upload it. Very important. All righty. So I know we love that, but we are getting better at that since that's a relatively new download. It's the same thing on page 40 with the tier 1 dyslexia screener. Assessments administered to students K through 3 must be reported by the district. I did have a district ask me, oh, well, we never reported those. So we have results for our kindergarten this year, first grade, second grade. We have all those results. I said, upload all of them then. If you've never uploaded them, uploaded them all. And so that did work for them. We did also go through the Ohio Department of Education just to be sure that we should upload all of them. And since they really should have been done before, it was a yes. All righty. Oh, here we go. Didn't somebody have this question? There we are. You just asked this question way too soon. College level examination program, CLEP, CLs. EMIS change 26-107 adds this college level examination program. This will be very few students. And here's the deal. Those results go directly to the student. You need to get those from the student to upload. And good idea to upload again. But it does say students must bring these results to the school to be added manually.
Students know to bring that in.
Guidance. I mean,
Is there
that's,
guidance that helps set them up then?
Yeah.
Take those?
Yeah. Yep. But then, you know, that's going to slip through the cracks because the guidance is not going to remember every little thing they've done for every student. And so that might be a great reminder. Hey, if you have any students, and I used to do that, you know, when I get back after going to one of these trainings, I would skim through one more time where I made notes on, ooh, send this to this person, send that to that person. Then I felt like it was kind of off my plate, that I had kind of done what I should do. And I think that's what we need to remember. You don't have to be responsible for everything, but you have to make sure that the people that are privy to the information that you're getting or the reports that you're getting. They have to see them. They don't see them if they don't have EMIS. They're taking college testing. So they're actually going through a college level examination program and they're getting results on those tests.
But they could just add.
Yeah, that would be a great idea. And it goes into a lot more detail on this. And, you know, maybe you just want to copy these and send them to your counselor. You know, copy these couple pages and send them to them. Run reports to verify assessment data. Okay, so this is all done in the Analytics Hub, in case anybody's loving that. There is so much in the Analytics Hub, so much. And I don't think even at this time we utilize everything that we can utilize there. But when you look at even, if you take that EMIS tab or assessment and you go down through that, FB acceleration detail, import template, state assessment report. I mean, there's so much there, and maybe you do use it already. A lot of different areas in here under the Analytics Hub. So what is our job in all this? Well, our job is to make sure that all test scores have been uploaded into our student information system by someone, whether it's you, whether it's your testing coordinator, whether it's your people that are in charge of literacy, maybe they do the dyslexia, maybe they do the reading diagnostic. It is your job to make sure that they have a heads up that it either needs uploaded or they need to send you the upload for you to upload this into student information. So once we get in there, oops, there we go. And we know that our testing, what we want to see is in there. We want to go to our assessment reporting. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever verified assessment data. I've never hit that. So I don't know what'll happen if I hit it. It's just a verify. And I always feel like when I'm verifying, I'm honestly verifying over an EMSR. Because if I transfer all my assessment data right now, I'm taking everything over there, even if I haven't done it. Because I want what I do need over there, over there. So I transferred it all over there. And I'm going to wait for it to load because it takes a few minutes to load it all. And sometimes I go here and I get, once it's complete, you can go into, oh, I've already been signed off. But we're going to finish what we started. We started assessments. Now we're going to finish them. If you guys are wondering about that password, me too. So I'm just going to go to Chippewa at this point. And you know how we kind of rolled through this in the last training? Okay, we see our beginning student data. Hey, you guys see I did that yesterday. So I'm right on top of it. You can see the forecast calendar. You can see when that's been done. You can tell when you've done this stuff. You can see what hasn't been. So we talked about the COS. We see the download separate all by itself right there. I also know that we don't have any of that data down there. We haven't uploaded anything there. There's our exiting student follow-up. Our third grade fall. Not done yet. Once that gets uploaded, there it is. So you don't come over here and get to do like one big assessment submission. You get to do them one at a time. Okay. Which years and years ago, it all came over together and you had to be able to separate. So doing it this way keeps it much more contained, much more, so much easier to manage. So we can already see the KRAs right there. And I can see that it closes March 27th. I have plenty of time to get it done. It's the same thing with the fall third grade. I don't like to wait. I like to, once it's there, I like to get in, I like to do it, and I like to know that it's been done. And I don't want to go back to that because after Christmas, we're getting ready for spring. So if I'm still in the fall world or the summer world, it's not a good place to be. So I'm a little bit funny about that kind of stuff. So the KRA would be probably the next thing that I would be working on at this point. Reading diagnostic, that should be completed. So I would go in and I'd say, okay, well, I did submit that. I'm going to look to see what's missing or if I had any errors. So I can see there's excluded records there because all the test junk comes over. But I can also see the student assessment record, the valid is my reading diagnostics. I don't have any invalid, and I do not have any missing students at this point. Yes.
Actually, those results are there.
Ooh, well, let's look at it. In the level twos?
Yep. Kind of towards the bottom.
What the heck? Let's just look at those two. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. I did know that. Okay, so when I go back in here, I would see that I do have a warning, or I have a critical, and I have 55 warnings. And I would want to take a look at those. Now, and they're just warning you that you've marked these kids not on track. Now, I want to tell you guys a little bit about warnings, just because we're on the subject right now. A warning is not an error. I know you guys don't like them. I understand that. But it is a heads up. It's not a heads up not to look at it. It's a heads up to look at it. So these 55 kids are not on track. I might send that report to the literacy coach and say, is this true? It's not for me to decide if it's true. Is it true? Is it okay? I don't know what the critical is, but I would want to find out what the critical is. And so critical and fatal are issues. Critical still goes through to ODE. Warnings, informational, all go to ODE. Anytime that you see warnings, it means take a look. Doesn't mean it's a problem. If it's reported right, it's reported right. You know how sometimes it doesn't like how you're sending that kid to 2 different places? It's a warning. I know, it's a warning. Is that true? Are they seriously going to the Career Center and taking CCP? If they are, and those percentages are right, ignore it, okay? But remember, don't ignore them completely. Take a look at them or send them to somebody that it has to do with it to take a look at them. Thank you for that, Lori. I just went off on my tangent on the warning thing. So everybody can thank Lori. Okay, so as we go down through here, so that's kind of cool. If you didn't know that, the reading diagnostic, I think tier 1's there too, if I'm not mistaken. they're in your S collection also, but you still have to do reading diagnostic. Here we go past our staff and course, student grade collection. Now we get to summer and fall end of course. So fall is, the results are not in. Some of them haven't even been given yet. Maybe they have been. This is end of October. But summer has been given. And most of those are either already uploaded, or should you check with your district to see if they did any summer testing for end of course. Then you go on to your tier 1 dyslexia. So each one of these, although you've transferred them all over into the same area, they all came over with the A collection transfer from your student information, you still have to submit them all in their respective collections. Now, as you're correcting things, again, you're fixing them in student information, resubmitting, redoing this in EMSR. So it's a process with everything you do. Everything starts in student collection, including testing, even though we know it starts in TIDE, it starts in KRA. But if it's not in student collection, it's not going anywhere. If you correct it in student collection and you don't do a transfer, it's not correcting over here. Okay. So we have now went through all of our assessments, some of which have not started yet, some of which are not ready to be loaded yet, but we have received a lot of information on what to do when we get them. And again, I'm not putting the pressure on an EMIS coordinator, but know who in your district is responsible for it. If not you, who? Because you're the only one that's going to see these errors, see these reports. If you don't share, if you don't go to that person, and I know some of you guys take it to that person, they say, oh, it says EMIS. That's you. You are kind of the middleman in all this, which sometimes is hard. It's hard, but you're also the protector of your district, which is good that they have people like you that do that. So as much as it might not be something that you have to do, you still have to share, and you're still going to have to convince people that you can't do that. You don't have the data. You just don't have the access, whatever it is. If you don't have access in TIDE, you're not pulling any test scores over. You're not doing it. You're not looking at them if you don't have access. So those are just some things. And if you do have access and you're not testing coordinator, you might want to keep it to yourself. I don't know. I don't know. So any other questions on assessment reporting? No questions. That is wonderful. And we are 15 minutes early. So if we have any other questions, I do want to tell you guys a couple of things. You know, when you're doing your S collection, don't forget to do student cross-reference at the same time. Just get into that habit of getting that, because if you have ODEX errors, if you're just doing student collection, you're not doing cross-reference, you're not fixing your ODEX errors. Make sure you're in ODEX errors to help other districts out, so that, you know, if you don't know a student's open enrolled and they didn't let you know and they're reporting it and you're not, you can find a lot of those errors out there, and that helps. That just helps move things along. Along with your contact collection, I'm just going to say a little blurb about the contact thing. I don't want to, but I'm going to. It's not required, but I will tell you that if you're on any of DU's trainings or talks or whatever, the EMIS people will tell you that you need to do this. I will tell you that. It is not required right now. You're not losing money right now if you didn't do it, but it will be required. It will be. And so a lot of you guys are just ahead of the game. You also have to remember, when you're doing that contact collection, it's looking for one contact per student. You might have 2 or 3 or 4. So you're going to get 792 that are okay. And then you're going to get, and I think, I don't know know where I'm at right now. Oh, this one hasn't been submitted yet. You're going to get a lot more that are not valid. A lot more. I did submit this for them. Sorry about that. I don't know why it's not coming up. But you're going to get 2,000 errors, and you're going to get 792 that are valid. Those 2,000 are should be all your additional contacts that you've brought over that they don't want. Okay? But you should take a good glance at it. Janelle and I actually probably studied it pretty hard. And we came up with what was happening, but we also came up with a couple kids missing. You know, so I kind of had two screens going down pretty fast and, whoa, that kid's not listed over in the Valids. And I want to know why he wasn't listed over in the Valids. Could have been an R resident attending out. You know, those are things you're going to bump into. Depends on how deep you want to dive. So those are just some heads up. That's all it is. Nothing else. But it is not required. You're not going to lose money this year. They're saying that it's going to be a money issue down the road, but they want you to submit that like in August. The data is not that good in August. So I'm not sure why they're saying that, but I'm sure more clarification will come out. So this is an example of what it looks like in a district that I feel like was done right. I can see 1312 in contacts, but I can also see excluded records 2350. So that 2350 is what is freaking everybody out. Don't let it freak you out. That's the first thing. Okay. Who says it's freaking them out? Yeah. Yeah. So
Should
that,
we submit that every class student? I do, and then I'm like, nothing's changed, so then.
Yeah.
I don't.
yeah. I mean, it's not going to hurt to submit it once a month. I would not do it more than once a month. I mean, if you have kids changing once a month, I mean, nobody's using it. I mean, you're free and reduced lunch stuff, that kind of stuff's there.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we do it once a month, just to be sure. Any other questions that we can answer before we close shop? Oh, Janelle.
Well, you were talking about ELA in school. Have you heard, or can you confirm or deny, is that going away next year?
You mean as far as the testing piece of that?
Yeah.
Okay, so they've changed it like 3 years in a row now. So they had it where you used to report it through crawl. Then they had it where you had to send the file, you know, hook it up to, you know, the Job and Family Services, whatever it was out there. I don't remember what it was. And this year now they're doing it on a spreadsheet that just goes automatically to them. So what worries me is they're still trying to find a way to make it work. That's what worries me. So I don't know. Yeah, it's been talk that they're going to do away with it. Will they do away with it? I wouldn't count on it, but
Oh, what? Okay. Did they talk about it there? No, like, well, the thing that surprised me is that, there's the 15 point, and there's the 32 point. We've always done the 15 point, but get accredited in the gold preschool, you need to do 32 points for the public quality. Yeah.
So we dropped that this past year. I hopped on late, and I also heard talking about gold. Then I put it on the spot, and there's like another assessment. So I don't know, is ELA going away and gold replacing? That's where I was kind of.
I'm going to repeat what you guys said for the people that are on Zoom. They're talking about your preschool, you know, whether you take the 15 point or the 30 point. And Lori was saying, if you do the 15 point, which a lot of us opted into because we felt like it was the short version, but she's saying the long version is what gets you the bonus of what's it called? Gold Star, the step up to quality, which I don't think everybody knows. Here's the problem with preschool. It's getting harder and harder to run a preschool through a district, especially the ECE grant funded preschool, because now Job and Family Services is basically running that and telling you who qualifies, who doesn't. So I wonder what's going to happen with this whole thing, and I'm not sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Did we stop the recording?